Another Filipina that we should know of and know about. Thank you so much, Margaret Hines, for taking the time to sit down with us here at the Barrio. For those who may not be familiar, how do you introduce yourself?
I'm a Filipina American, grew up in the US. I'm an angel investor. I'm also a SaaS tech startup founder. I also am a founder of and CEO of a multimedia and film production company. So I have my hands in many, many, many buckets.
Filipina and entrepreneurship. Until recently, we didn't really hear of very many Filipinas in business or businesses, even outside of the Philippines especially, right? How did you get into it?
So it's really funny because the Philippines is such a matriarchal society, and I think it's not necessarily the case here in the US, but because we have that embedded in our culture, obviously being raised by a Filipina mother, Filipina
strong
father,
moms and lolas,
and
right?
lolas and
Yes.
titas.
Yes.
That was always something ingrained in my DNA and in the DNA of the females in my family. Here in the US, I think entrepreneurship for me became organic because I started my career out on Wall Street in New York and San Francisco. I worked my way into private equity and then venture capital, and that's my background. When I left VC in 2015, I embarked on a foundership, and I actually took my husband's business, which was a multimedia company, and turned it into a media and production, a film production company, and found that the journey there made it such a purpose-driven life for me that I never looked back.
How does that fit in your perspective, purpose and profitability?
Impact investing is at the heart of pretty much everything I do with regard to my investments. Social justice causes are at the heart of the philanthropic works that me and my husband and I focus on, as well as the investments that we actually both have. I think that's what the pandemic has brought. That was the positive thing that the pandemic, I think, brought to the world, was it made people more conscientious about helping make this world a much better place, helping people heal. Obviously, that's at the heart of the behavioral health community. But when you're looking at social justice causes, whether it's in philanthropy or capitalistic endeavors, that is much more part of the conversation today than has been previously.
So let's talk about that. For those that are maybe thinking, I want to start a business, my passion is this, because there's not just one passion that you're passionate about. There's different things. Like, I'm passionate about parenting, I'm passionate about my children, I'm passionate about my community, things like that. But in terms of like trends, what trends are you seeing in terms of business? Up until like maybe 10 years ago, it was all clothing and fashion, which is changing because the last few years, actually 20 years ago, it was clothing. 10 years ago, it's beauty. Where do you see this? What are the trends that you're seeing? What industries?
Yeah, I'm seeing, with regard to beauty, I'm seeing a lot more trends into the clean beauty world. I am seeing overall a huge trend into the wellness space. Obviously, being in the behavioral health and mental health space, I see a significant trend there. Even in the tech world, there's a significant shift into the mental health tech, behavioral healthcare tech. There's a lot more focus on that than I think even since before 2020.
Right.
2020, everybody realized how important it was to take care of your brain, to take care of your wellness, to take care of your body. So the shift has been in the wellness space. It's tremendous. I mean, I think the amount of money that's being poured into the wellness space, and that does encompass clean beauty as well as behavioral healthcare tech. That's where I'm seeing the biggest impact, the biggest changes.
Right. Also, one of the big change is the push toward diversity and inclusion. Also, the big push on women entrepreneurs. I mean, I'm sure that it wasn't an easy journey for you. What are some of the struggles and how have you overcome?
In my world, women founders receive less than 2% of funding. What I'm trying to do is work with networks and platforms like the Cherub community, among many others. A lot of women in VC these days that are trying to close that gap and change that number. so being involved in that, I think, is critical. I'm working with those platforms and those networks, not just shift that mindset, but to really grow that 2% to maybe 10, 15 and grow. Women take up more than half the population of the United States. Getting involved with the networks and the platforms to do that, elevating more women in venture capital, in finance specifically, in STEM, I think will change the future. I would say probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a shift.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That is
Yes.
exciting, right? With that said, how do you start a business? For those that are watching, female entrepreneurs out there, budding ones, aspiring ones, what are your top 3 first things to do when you start a business?
Well, the first thing is make sure you're really going to do it. Execution. So whatever your business is, you can plan forever and you can have an idea. Ideas are plentiful. It's the execution that really matters. Just do it is my first piece of advice. Second is don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
But look at failure as a learning and educative exercise. You can fail 19 times and then you're going to succeed once, and that is all you need. And that is the way it works in business too. Out of 20 investments, one will succeed, and that's your Google, that's your Facebook, that's your huge investment, and that's the way it works. And that's okay because you learn from all of those mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. I think the third piece is really grow your network. Your relationship capital is going to be critical to any business that you start. So value your relationship capital and ask for help.
Love that. Thank you so much, and good luck. More power to you.
Thank you.